So let's go to vision. And one of the things, hindsight looking back, and I'd love to get your take because there was a very rough vision in the early days. Yes, there was kind of a North Star mission that was very like not clear. But one of the things that I saw you do a lot along the way was you were really good at documenting and saying, hey, there's this thing. We've said it like 15 times in the last 3 days. That should probably be something we write down and remember. Check your ego at the door was an early one. Do business, do life, by the way, fun fact, it is now Triad's mission. Originally, when we started, it was one of our missions. It wasn't the mission. And what's been really cool, and I share this because I see a lot of advisors get stuck. We're like, oh, it's got to sound perfect. My brand identity and my message and my mission statement. The truth is it was really messy, but we did a pretty decent job of like documenting the things that kept coming up. And then eventually we turned that into a true mission statement, true core values. But what's your side of that? Because you obviously were at least clear enough on the vision to invest into that as early talent that was recruited into Triad. And I think there's a lot of clues in that for advisors because there's a lot of 2, 5, 10-person small businesses that their hardest part is getting great talent to buy into the mission of the company. So what are some learnings or ahas from you on that side?
So I'm not going to call myself an A player. I appreciate you calling me that. What I will say is I was somebody who inside of my role was constantly trying to push boundaries and go outside of my role to create and build with the vision of doing more, becoming more, right? Like wholesalers don't typically go on tour with the Rolling Stones to talk about what it means to retire like a rock star. Like they don't typically do speaking engagements on digital marketing. I wanted to start a digital marketing company. I think earlier in 2020, there was like this itch where it's like, I want to make a bigger impact. And inside of my role, I don't know that I have the path to create to do the things that first of all, I really love to do. And I think I'm decently good at. So the first thing that I think was really exciting was that, there was a promise and an action that backed it. That was ownership. It's, hey, we're bringing you on because you're an expert and what you say, we're going to trust you. It was, I've only, before Triad and the restaurant I dropped out of, I've only worked at one other place and, I wouldn't trade that for anything. And like the empowerment and sense of ownership that you guys promised and then delivered was insane. It's incredibly fulfilling. You and I were just talking about how like one of the biggest things that quote unquote performers need is autonomy and the freedom to make decisions, as opposed to them saying, I really think we should do this. And then somebody saying, oh, well, no, it needs to be this way. Or like, that's a good idea, but no, you know what I mean? Like it was all ideas. The sky was the limit. The answer, the response to the ideas were more along the lines of what's possible as opposed to what isn't possible, right? And I think in companies we tend to, and maybe it's just because we were new, but I think in general, it's stressful being a leader, it's stressful being a CEO, it's stressful having the constraints of the business and cash flow and all of that. It's easier to say, well, in some ways, like to say, like, let's just stick with what's comfortable. And I thought that was really cool. I'll tell you, the people were a huge deal. You and Sean are legends, and I want to be on the dream team. I want to work with the best of the best. And at that point, I don't even know how much of a vision that we had. I just knew that anything that you guys did was going to be amazing. I remember when I first met you guys, we had dinner at Sean's house, and Sean, like his brand, he had a huge brand, huge respect following in the industry, but it's a little bit different, I think, than yours and I's, where we're accessible. You get to know you through the podcast, you get to know me through my content. Sean's was different because he had a book, right? So you had a little bit of this like mystique. You couldn't hear Sean's voice. You didn't really know what to expect. All you knew was he was like the best of the best from the biggest and quote unquote biggest and baddest. And I remember having dinner at his house with you guys, and your wife and Sarah and Aubrey were there. Your wives were there, and they were so chill and so down to earth. And we drank wine, and I think I said the F word a couple times, and I was really comfortable, and it wasn't like all this like makeup and some Aubrey would have had like glue on nails and the nail fell off into the dessert, and it was like, wow, these are real people. So I think there was also it was nice. I would not have come if I felt like I was going to go somewhere and feel like I have to be somebody that I'm not.
I'll tell you what I love about this business is the people, and surrounding myself with just people that want to go do big, what seem like impossible things. And that was definitely you and is you. That is definitely Sean and is Sean. That is definitely me. And it's really fun for me to collect these relationships that are all like, let's go do something big that deserves to exist. And there's not an easy way to do it. And let's figure it out. And by the way, not take yourself too seriously while you do it. Like, if you do, that's where you're honestly like getting yourself in trouble. And I've seen it. I've seen what this business does to egos, unfortunately, and probably suffered from some of it along the way. I think we all have if we've had any level of success.
Definitely.
And but your last thing you hit, I think there's so much wisdom in that little statement of build a business that allows people to be themselves. Well, number one, recruit people in aligned with the mission, right?
Yes.
And of high character, but also allows people to be true to themselves. And I know you know Shannon on the team who just joined not that long ago, and he said that in a different way. He's like, man, I just love like not having to play some game or pretend to be somebody I'm not when I walk through Triad stores.